Good morning. We are going to continue our journey in proposal writing, where we are going to talk about objectives and activities. Yesterday's story, we had talked about the need assessment, which is going to lead us to a problem that we are going to use in order to have our hypothesis from which we are going to write our background and justification for the issue of the problem proposal, for the proposal writing. After having our problem highly clarified, then we have to state our objectives. After clarifying our problem yesterday and our assumption, we have to clarify our goal. Our goal is the broad thing that we are going to achieve from this proposal. After the goal, it comes the objectives, then the outcomes. It's like a pyramid where the base, the highest thing is the goal, then the objectives come, followed by the outcomes. Goal. The goal is the ultimate long-term result. It should be broad, overarching statement of the intention or ambition, short but general statement of intention. It should be something very broad. It's like improvement of child health. It's like improvement of woman health. It is something about the ultimate goal. It's something very big, long term, that's going to be achieved after several activities. Then the objectives. The objective is the smaller one. It is a very precise statement. It provides a clear statement of the anticipated results to be achieved throughout the proposal. When we have an objectives, it should be something very clear. It should be something very specific. Our objectives usually focuses on learning and change. Learning and change could occur on different levels. The change could be on the individual level, on the organizational level, or in the community level. For example, when you are talking about changing the practice or attitude of people, then you are talking about an individual change. If you are talking about change of the assessment method in an institution or change of a learning methodology in an organization or institution, then you are talking about an organizational change. You are proposing to have a change on the organizational level. If you are talking about the whole people in a place, in a city, in a town, then you are targeting to change the community in that place. For example, you would like to change the community behavior toward a specific endemic problem in this part. To have a clear statement, you should have a specific objectives, a specific criteria for the objectives. The specific criteria for the objectives are gathered in an acronym called S.M.A.R.T, where each letter of the word stands for a specific description for these objectives. For an example, S stands for specific, M stands for measurable, A stands for attainable, R stands for time-oriented and relevant, T stands for time-bound. So let's talk about each one and specific. Is your objective specific? You have to ask yourself, when I'm going to state that I'm going to do something, is it specific? How I know that it's specific? When it answers the following question: who is involved? What I want to accomplish? Where is the problem? What is the time frame? Why I'm going to do this? Why this reason? Why this purpose? Why this achievement? Why this methodology? So answering the who, what, where, when, why gives you a clear example about the specific objective. Let's recall yesterday's example, which is about planting the garden. When we looked yesterday, what we can do, we said we want to plant the garden. So the objective was the garden to be planted. Is it a specific objective? No, it's not a specific objective. Why? Because who's involved? If I said I, then that's correct. I am the person who's in charge. What I want to accomplish? Plant the garden. Where's the problem? the garden is not clean, the place is completely not nice. When I can accomplish, it should be within a specific frame of time. And why? Because my morals are not good when I look to this picture. Measurable. Is it measurable? The objectives should be something measurable. If your objectives are specific and measurable, then how will you know when it's accomplished? What indicators will you look for to measure the progress and the success? It's important that everything I do is to be measurable, because if it's going to be measurable, then I'm going to say, yes, I did it correct. For example, I'm going to plant the garden. How do I know that I had achieved planting the garden? Do I mean that if I had planted the quarter only of the garden, this is the objective, or what's going to be the whole garden? I have to be very specific. What's going to do, the whole or the quarter, in order to indicate that the success was done on the level that I had promised that I'm going to do. Measurable. How can I measure that I planted the garden? By the number of seeds that I had put inside, or by the appearance, or how? Is it just planting, so it's about putting the seeds? If it's about putting the seeds, then this is measurable. Attainable. What do you mean by attainable? I have to ask myself, is the objective attainable? Given the resources available to you, the objective must be attainable. It must be doable. It is action-oriented, where you know that I can do it. If you said that I'm going to plant the whole country, can I do that by my own self? Of course not. I will plant my backyard. Can I do that? Yes, it's my backyard, which is 3 to 5 square meters. So this is something I can do it. How about I'm going to plant the city? Can I plant the city by my own self? No. So when I say attainable, it should be attainable in the terms of the resources that is allowed to me. Relevant and realistic. I have to ask myself, is the objective that I'm stating is relevant and realistic? This is something very important. When I'm going to say so, I have to ask myself a few questions. Is it worthwhile? Is this the right time? Does this align with other efforts or needs? It must be doable. When we say, I'm going to plant the garden, do we mean that I'm going to do it during winter while the rains are heavy and the soil is completely muddy and I can't do anything? Or I'm going to do it in summer or spring? The seeds which I'm going to use, are these for the plants or the flowers that come in this season? Are these seeds suitable for the soil where I'm going to put them? So I have to be realistic. I can't get something which is in the desert like to be planted in a completely muddy or a completely watery soil. I have to be very realistic and very relevant to the place where I work in. Is it suitable for me to do that or not? Is it relevant and realistic to plant the garden in spring with seeds that suits this season, and I can do that in that place? If so, then my goal is relevant. The goal should be time bound. What do we mean by time bound? It should have a start point and an end point. It should have a specific duration. When will you achieve this objective? I have to know. When will you undertake the activities to achieve your objective? So I have to have a time frame. For example, as we had stated, like for the garden, I'm going to plant the garden in the spring with spring seeds, and I'm going to finish that within 3 months. So I have to be very time bounded, because if I'm just saying I'm going to do it, then I can do it after 100 years. What's the problem with doing it after 100 years? To be honest, I have to do it in a time bound and a specific time frame that allow me to do the thing in the right way. So you have to clarify the goal and the objectives for the chosen hypothesis that you have chosen to do with. In your workbook, you had chosen actually a problem to work on. So kindly, for this problem, try to clarify the goal you would like to achieve for that problem and the objectives chosen for this hypothesis to be done. When you are going to write your objectives, remember that it should be SMART. It should be something very specific. It should be something measurable. It should be attainable. It should be realistic and time-bound. Like what we had just said earlier, I'm going to plant my small garden during the next 3 months with the spring seeds. So it is something I can do it. I know where I'm going to do it. I know the time frame. I'm going to use the things which are suitable for the soil and the temperature and the environment at that time. After discussing the objectives, we are going to talk about the activities. Now, we would like to achieve things like planting the garden. In order to plant that garden, what are the tasks? How I am going to implement the activities? How I can plant this garden? I have to be highly specific in determining the activities to be done. So you need to answer the following questions. How will the work be done? Where will the work be done? Who will do the work? When it will be done? So, how the work will be done? I need plants, I need seeds, I need water, I need a garden system. Where I'm going to do this? In my backyard garden. Who will do the work? It's me who's going to do the work. When it will be done, I think I'm going to start by January or February and have 3 months starting from that time, because during the winter time we cannot work on planting of the garden due to the environment. So, when we are going to talk about activity, we should have a clear vision exactly what is the activity section should be about. The activity section talks about several things. It talks about the participants, where I should be aware who is going to do this task. In the garden, I said I am going to do it. It should talk about the procedure, what will happen. Okay, in planting the garden, I need to have the seeds, I need to have the equipment, I need to do the planting thing, I need to have water resources. So it's about the procedure, what I'm going to do, what's going to happen. I should be very clear about what I'm going to do. To continue also about the activity section, we have to talk about the measures or the materials. The measures or the materials describes what are we using in our proposal, in the work, in the actual reality, or the material which we are going to use. For example, in the garden example, I'm going to use seeds. I need also as a material the water resources. I'll need the garden equipment that will help me to plant the garden. So these are the materials that I'm going to use. After doing the materials, we have to go through the analysis section. The analysis section is the part where we do stand and say, I did my objective. I did what I wanted to do. It's about analysis of the materials that I have done, the procedures I have done in order to reach to the point that I want to reach from the objective. So when we are going to tailor our activities, it should be tailored very specifically in order to achieve the objectives that we want to. In another word, our objectives should be highly specific in the term of who is going to do it, where it's going to be done, how it will be conducted out, and when it will be finished, what is the time frame to do so. So you are going now to go to the activity number 2. You have actually stated your objectives to be done according to your problem. Now we need you to identify the activities explaining the purpose of these activities in order to achieve your goal. It's important to remember that the proposed activities will lead to the objectives that were initially proposed. Our take-home message is that on stating your objective, it should be SMART. It's important to remember that the proposed activities will lead to the objectives that were initially proposed. Thank you.